Good evening and welcome to stage 2 of the Tour des Alpes. Stage 2 from Saxon to Auvergnaz. I'm sure my pronunciation is not good, but you can see it on screen there. Auvergnaz, it's in the Bernese Alps. So we're still in the southwestern corner of Switzerland, but we're heading north. We're crossing the Rhone River. And we're heading north very much into, I mean, it's all ski country, isn't it? But very much into ski country. We've got a big stage with us tonight, 16.6 kilometers, 959 meters elevation. That's in addition to the 883 elevation we did last night. Last night, you might remember, was 11 kilometers. This is longer, but it's got a very long straight bit. I did the 12 o'clock stage earlier today, so I know this course now. The first part, long, flat, 6 kilometers, and then it pretty much goes up at a more or less constant 10%. I mean, it sounds brutal, but actually, weirdly, I enjoyed it. That's partly because I have a background in TT, and I'm quite good at just sitting on a power and cranking it out. I know what I can do. I very rarely, blow up. So if you're that sort of rider, this is a really good course. It doesn't have the sort of, like we saw last night, the ramps that go up to 20-25%. I mean, at times this goes up to 15, but I'd say most of that incline varies between 7 and 8% and up to 15%, but mostly around 9 or 10%. So you can get a nice, you'll see when we get the profile up on screen, it's mostly red, which doesn't sound like it's a good thing, but it means that you can get into a rhythm. There's not so many orange or green bits that where the gradient levels off, and you can just get into a nice rhythm, get your cadence right, and keep going up. So as we come into stage two, this is our leaderboard from the first stage yesterday. We've got just a minute to go here. Ivan Gadush did a spectacular ride last night, taking the win from Daniel Cadiz and John Beams. Now, John Beams, I know, rode earlier today, having done it at 6 o'clock last night. He then did it at 6 o'clock this morning. And John turned in a time of 48.39. So if the guy who's in third spot is doing 48.39, well, that's certainly the time to beat for tonight. He's in the lead for stage two, and I'm expecting, a really good time might be, somewhere 48, maybe 45, 46. I did just under 52, 51, 57 was my time. So I'm expecting, some really good riders. Might get close to 45, 46. In terms of who we've got tonight, we've got 70 riders, over 70 riders signed up so far. There they are all on the line. I had a quick scan through the rides earlier. We'll see race starting in 5 seconds. So we'll pick this up as we just catch the start, and then we'll see who's there. So a few names on screen there. Derek Bucock, Wouter Claes. We'll hear more of him later. He's got a Zoom cam on tonight, so we're gonna see Wouter. Look at that name at the bottom there. You just caught it there, Mathieu Drujon. He is riding tonight. He didn't ride yesterday. Mathieu Drujon, actually an ex-pro, I think, or semi-pro certainly. But I think ex-pro. No, he is an ex-pro. He's done a lot of TT. He's a fantastic rider. I didn't see Ivan Gadush actually on the start list. So Mathieu Drujon is my bet for tonight. Casper Hederdam is there. He was the early leader from yesterday. But if Mathieu Drujon doesn't have any mechanicals or problems, then I'm going to be putting my money on Mathieu to win tonight's race. He is an excellent rider. But it's going to be, for this first 6 kilometers, there's going to be, I think, a big group. That's certainly what happened earlier, and I don't see any reason why it wouldn't happen now. So looks like we've got a group of maybe 30 riders there. So close to half the field. I mean, once the start goes off fast, and you can get into a big group like this and get the draft. The great thing about RGT is it's so realistic. The draft works so well. You get into a group like this and you more or less get sucked along. A few little bits, I have my issues with some of the cornering and the lines on RGT. I know that's something that they're working on. You can get thrown off to the side, but if you safely, apart from little wobbles like that, if you're safely in a bunch like this, there's no reason that you won't be able to get pretty much at least to the base of the climb with the group. So we're seeing about 30 riders, I think, there, and a few, as we see off the back. There'll probably be a few little gaps here, but nothing major. There's one little bump on the way in that first 6 kilometers. Maybe a few people will drop off there if they're not paying attention, but it's a very short, fast little bump, and unless you've gone to sleep, you should be able to get up with that with the rest of the bunch. So we're seeing a few names there. I mean, at this point, order doesn't really matter. Wouter Claes is out in front there. We're seeing Timo Achenbach, who we're also going to hear more of later. Wouter Claes, going off the front. I can't see a name ahead of Wouter, but I wouldn't be too worried. Anybody who's trying to get off, Casper Hederdam, the Danish rider from the EKCD, one of the very strong, there's such super strong Danish riders in RGT. Casper is one of them. Rasmus Feldball is another one. Flemming Bach. Anyone who's ridden a lot of races on RGT will have seen the very strong Danish contingent. So I wouldn't worry too much about this. Riders will break off. They might just be putting in a bit of power, but then as we're seeing happens, a few riders put in a little bit of extra effort, they bridge the gap, they suck everybody along with them, and there's no way that a small group of riders are going to be able to put out enough power to get away from this bunch. If they've got any sense, they would be, my advice here is save your energy, do not do anything. The first rule of racing. So Ondřej Krajewski, I could probably pronounce that at one point in Polish, but anyway, Ondřej Krajewski from Ratio Racing, he's doing about, so he's wound it back a bit. And a few minutes ago, a couple of seconds ago, he was doing 4 or 5 watts per kilo. There's no need to do that. You're not going to get any advantage doing that here. So he's brought it back now to sort of 240, 250. There we go. Ruel there, French rider Quentin Ruel. Also doing over 400. Don't do it. it's just wasted energy at this point. You are not going to get any advantage. The first rule of racing in real life or in RGT is don't do anything you don't have to. Save your energy. That's what the really good riders do. It's amazing. Here we go, Bas Sheikh. No, he's got a different, but that sounds like a Dutch name. I'm not seeing his right up there. That's a German jersey, isn't it? I can't remember what team it is, but a lot of the German riders wear that jersey. So there you go, sensibly getting into on the wheel there of Quentin Rule. A little bit of a break, but nothing is going to come of that. They'll be caught by the bunch before we get to the base of the climb, and certainly once you get to the climb, a small gap like that, 50 meters, it just disappears straight away. So best thing is to save your energy, unless there's a decent bunch going. But at this point, it's really not much point trying to get away, because a big bunch like this is just going to roll along at very high speeds. Yeah, I mean, as I say, that is the first rule of racing. Don't do anything you don't have to. We're seeing a bit of bio here. Now we're seeing Wouter. Hey, Wouter, I don't know if he's listening. Maybe you can give us a wave in real life or in on screen. But Wouter Kleester, he lives in, I'm not even going to try and say Elevit in Belgium. He's 35, 1.85 meters and 81 kilos. So we'll be able to get a sense of what his power to weight ratio is there. Wouter is a very good rider. Wouter is a gold ranked rider in RGT DP, a very high gold ranked rider. He must be close to getting out of gold. Rides with Moon Riders, that's what the MR means, next to his name there. Wouter, I think last week had a second place in the West London VR race, and that's a very competitive race. So, if you look at Wouter's profile on RGT, it's just a string of top 10s. And that's why he's a gold ranked rider. So I would certainly expect Wouter to be up there, certainly in top 10 and even closer tonight. And well done, Wouter, for putting on the webcam so that we can see your suffering. We'll no doubt come back to you when you're hotter and sweatier. So got a little group now forming up the front here. They're just coming to that climb. So yeah, that's why they're putting in a little bit of power here. We've got Kasper Hededam, Bas Sheikh, Andrei Krzyzewski, Quentin Rule, it's just a group of 4 at the front now. So they've got a little bit of a gap, 80, 90 meters. Maybe they'll stay away now until the base of the climb, putting me, down, marking me as a liar for saying that nothing would happen here. But at the end of the day, it's not. I really don't think it's going to matter. It's certainly possible that someone who is still in the bunch can put on steady power once we get to this climb and win the race. This is certainly not, I would say, a race-winning move. And as I say, personally, I think it's wasted energy. You're going to need that when you get to the climb. There's just not going to be so much advantage here that is going to justify it, because you actually make much more gain on a climb. It's harder to get the distance when you're on the flat like this. You can put out a lot more power and you're only going to gain a few seconds or a few meters. So these guys putting in some good effort. So we're seeing them going red. They're seeing them going into the 5 watts per kilo to get a little bit of gap, and they're certainly making adding to that gap very quickly, going up very quickly. Up was 100 meters as they came over that little rise. It's gone up to 170. So that's a pretty good gap for them to take into the bottom of the mountain. But I'd say it will disappear as soon as they hit those slopes. That 150, 160 meters, it will go down very quickly to less than 100 meters. And 100 meters, that's about maybe 30 seconds on a climb like this. So it's not a bad gap. It's something. It's a good gap to have if you didn't have to do much work for it, but it really depends how much they've taken out of their legs in getting that gap. And we see the rest of the bunch behind them. They're not panicking. Yeah, we've got Keith Aitchison there. We've got Kadir and Nick Giles from Pocoloco. A few other names that I see there in the bunch, and they're not panicking. They're staying in sort of the yellow green zone. just rolling along, because in a bunch like that, you don't have to put in a big effort to roll along at a decent pace. They'll just keep that speed and keep rolling along. And maybe these guys, I don't know, maybe the winners will come from the group ahead, but these guys are doing the right thing, keeping their powder dry. So Keith Atchison there lives in, but despite the English name, Keith lives in Barcelona, age 62. So he's very much a masters racer. Again, I don't know if Keith's listening to the stream, but if you are, Keith, how are you going? Taking a sip of water there, good idea. 1.66 meters, so not 4 kilos. So Keith is actually a very good climber. Excellent climber for his age, certainly. Excellent climber just in any age. Keith also has, I think Keith is also a gold rider in our GTDB. He has very good, some very good events. Came 12th last week in the King of the Castle, an OTR event. He rides with OTR, is his team. Came 12th in the King of the Castle race. I've done some of those, and those are also very competitive races. Currently standing after the first stage in 25th place. He rode last night in 43 minutes and 20 seconds. So he'll be hoping to move up on some of the people around him tonight. So we're just now coming to this climb. So we're hitting the climb now, and it is all pain from here. You can see the profile there. It's just that lovely, beautiful, steady slope. I mean, as I say, it's all red, but it's actually a really good ride to get a rhythm going. There's very few variations, and you'll be able to, once you settle in, if you keep a good speed, you'll be able to settle in, keep your power, and just work your way up. So I'm no doubt we'll see some people who are good at that moving up the field. It's really, I actually said this last night when I looked at the profile. So I was closing the commentary. It's very much, it'll be interesting to see whether it's for the real mountain goats, or whether it is something that somebody who is good at TT sort of riding can do. Because if you can crank out that steady power, we see that sometimes in Tour de France and Giro stages, that sometimes a rider who isn't a classic mountain rider can win just by being able to keep a good power, good steady power up the climbs. And even someone like Primoz Roglic, I mean, he is not your classic mountain goat rider. He's not a little guy, but he's obviously a very, very, very good time trialist, and he can just set a power and go up those climbs. It's no coincidence that the people who tend to do well in that are also very good time trialists. I mean, Bradley Wiggins, Chris Froome. It's obviously part of it is because they make up time in the stages that are TTs, but part of it is also that a lot of it is about just being able to sit on a power and keep it going. So we're looking at some of the riders. So we're going to be splitting up a bit, I think, as we go up these climbs. So Kasper Hedderdarm there is getting a little bit of a gap. He's got a 30-40 meter gap over Bas Scheik. And Andrei Krzyzewski, who was also way up there last night. He was, I don't know exactly why, I think he was top 5, I think, certainly top 10. So that's your top 3, but they're not staying together. They've got a few gaps. And now we've got a little group back. So there we are with Kasper Hedderdarm, Danish rider. He's putting in some decent power there, 6 watts per kilo. He's not going to be able to keep that going all the way. So at some point he's going to have, maybe he's just making a little bit of a gap. Not a bad thing. Sometimes if you get a bit of a gap, the riders behind you start to think, well, okay, I'm going to let him go. I'm going to concentrate on my own race. I'm going to ride with those or ahead of those around me and make sure I keep my place. So maybe Kasper there, you can just see, we've just come off him, but you can see him easing off quite a bit as he gets to, it's getting to a flat bit, but maybe he's just making a little bit of a break to get a bit of a gap on these riders. So Bas and Andre are there riding pretty close together, a few meters between them, but not much. Then behind them, we've got Daniel Cadiz. Daniel came second last night to Ivan Gadus, who I don't think is riding tonight. Daniel there is sitting on 320, 300s. I think we've just come to it. Yeah, the slope has gone down slightly. So once we get back, now we're coming back to the 8s, and we'll see him go back into the higher power there. So Jojo Rusinek, a very good Masters rider. He was, I think, just outside the top 10 last night. So he's sitting on about 300, just over 300 watts there, fairly low cadence, about 59, 60. And heart rate is gone a fair way up, 165. So he's putting in quite an effort there. Yeah, that D next to Jojo's name, that stands for his Masters category. So D, so Masters, not in UCI, but Masters in most countries, certainly the UK, which I know is what James Ogilvy uses for categorizing these, starts at 40 and goes in 5-year age band. So a Masters D means that he's in the 55 to 60 age group, as am I. Lee Marshall there, who we saw riding last night, also did quite well. He's also sitting on sort of 330, 340, keeping a good power there, keeping a nice middle cadence of 70s. That's not bad for a climbing cadence. And heart rate 100. Oh, this is spiked there, 189. So not sure what happened there. Looked like we had a bit of a problem there for Stoppels. He was riding and suddenly he stopped. So maybe he's had a technical issue. Bad luck there. And now there we got Wouter Klaes in 14th, Timo Achenbach in 15th. Belgian, German following. So Timo is one of the 3 riders that have volunteered to do their Zoom camera tonight, although we're not seeing him on Zoom. But anyway, we have his biography. Timo Achenbach from Germany, age 46, so he would be a B category. 1.7 meters. There he is. There's the thing. Yes. Looking painful there, Timo. He's got the jersey on. A lot of people don't ride in the jersey. Maybe he did it to preserve modesty while he's on the Zoom cam. 62 kilos. Wow. Former artistic gymnast. So I know in Germany, they're very big. You often see clips of the guys and girls doing those, the fixed bike riding in the gyms where they do amazing things. I wonder if Timo used to do that, and that's where he's got his cycling from. We'll have to ask him at some point. Putting in some effort there, getting out of the saddle. It's going red, and he's in 15th spot, so he'll be aiming to keep a nice steady pace and keep coming up as we go up this climb. So Timo, also a very good rider. Timo is a silver level rider on RGT DB. He did very well actually in the first stage. I mean, if you look at his rides, he's generally sort of top 10 to top 20 in most of his rides. But I think last night he had a 5th in the Round the World ride that's been organised, and he came 20th last night in stage 1. So that's a pretty good result given the very high level of competition in these stages and the number of riders. We've got Johan Suhard from France, sitting a little bit less power, so high 200s, 300, low 300s, good cadence, 78, nearly 80 RPM cadence. Looks like he's just coming to a slightly less gradient as we go there. So there's Matthew Drujon. I'm really surprised. I mean, I can only think that Matthew is either injured or hasn't been riding, because I know Matthew is an extremely strong rider. I'm surprised to see him down here. So there must be some reason that Matthew is back in the 18th, 17th, 18th place as he is here. Philip Dulac, sorry. Also sitting on, so that's, we're getting it down to sort of, the top riders are doing the 350, 360 or more. That's going to be close to 5 watts per kilo. Back here, we're doing, high 200s, 300, and probably more like, 4 watts per kilo to be in the top 20. So Nick Giles, Poco, let's see, 200, high 200s, 300, and here we are, Tomiyu Pascual, Spanish flag, mid 250s. Hard to tell just from the watts because it also very much on a hill depends on watts per kilo. So somebody can be doing 250 and somebody else can be doing 300, but doing much the same speed. Here we go, Isitor. If I remember correctly, Isitor won the spot prize last night. I think I read that. And the spot prize last night was from Torm Cycle Clothing. There is a spot prize tonight as well from Hexy Socks, one of the 3 sponsors of the Tour de Alps. Chris Bancross there in 22nd place, Dutch rider. Also, yeah, good cadence, heart rate going up to 180, close to 180. So he's probably pretty close to the limit. Probably going to be aiming to maintain this sort of power going up the climb. Here we go, João Dionísio from Portugal. A little bit lower watts, 260, 250, 270. Great, he's a grinder. He's a 60 RPM. Mike Murray, I know Mike very well. I've ridden a few TTTs with Mike. I've met him in real life at Herne Hill Velodrome. He lives down on the south coast in the UK. Lovely guy. Hi Mike, if you're listening or watching, 300 watts per kilo. Sorry, 300 watts. 300 watts per kilo, that would be something. Soren Anschutz from Germany in 25th place. It's got a good RPM there. I approve. That gets the RPM of sort of 80-ish gets my seal of approval. Jesper Hivestul from Denmark. Lower, again, hard to tell from watts per kilo, but doing 230. John Bythway, he is with the RGT team. He's one of the RGT staff, deals with a lot of our queries on social media, always very helpful and calm and unruffled. So we all love John, so good luck with that, John. I know he does a lot of the races. Great to see the RGT guys taking part in the races. We're going to be moving back to field now. So Chris Shackleton here in 28th place, British rider. Also good cadence there. And we seem to have this. Is that the Team Lou jersey? I can't tell from here. Jason Demion, French jersey, so probably maybe not Tim, but not so. Jason, we're going to. Thank you, Damien's going to give us the different angle there. So no, the rider ahead had the Team Lou jersey, and this is Hoob jersey. Yeah, Chris Shackleton had Team Lou jersey. Team Lou, if you don't know it, Lou Ricks has done for a long time rides on weekends, usually at 3 o'clock UK time. I think he's based in the US, but he does rides that are a great place to start on RGT. They're very social rides. He does a lot of work with helping people draft and get used to RGT. It's a fantastic entry point. Dermot Doyle there. I think F is either masters or female. I'm not sure. So it was a Canadian flag, but Dermot isn't a female name, so I'm slightly confused there. If I get a chance, I will look it up. Here we go. Danish rider Stefan Lee under the Danish flag, and is that that's I think that is the ECKD. Oh, no, I'm not sure what no, Pactimo Racing on the jersey in 30th spot. And okay, going back to the front now with Casper Hededam, has consolidated his lead by the look of it, but he's not by a lot. So 75 meters, 76 meters to Daniel Cadiz, and still a long way to go. So this is far from over. I have to say, I love that bike that Daniel has chosen. I must check out the wheels. It's all very, very matching. What a great choice. So that's is that the Evo, Cannondale Evo, and I'm not sure what those wheels are. I'll have to check those in my RGT app. Looking very matchy there, Daniel. Muy bien. Andrzej Krajewski from Rasio, Polish rider. So he's putting in. So you can see these top riders. So Casper is still sitting in high 5s watts per kilo. Daniel sitting on 4.55 watts per kilo. Andrzej, he's a little bit behind. He's seems to be a little bit lower at sort of low 4 to 4.5. So when I came up, on the earlier stage, I was doing about 4.5 most of the way. And as I say, my time was about 52, just under 52. So I'm certainly expecting that to be beaten tonight. I will enjoy my temporary position in second place on the stage behind John Beams, but no doubt that will not last long. Now, as Wouter Claes, we're going to come back to Wouter. Come on, Wouter, show us some pain. Show some pain on that zoom camera. He's getting out of the saddle. That's good stuff there. He's over a 10% slope. As I said, it's pretty regular, this. You know, I mean, it's good to get out of the saddle. A lot of people do like to get out of the saddle just to stretch the legs, especially when you go around these hairpins. If you do get a steeper part, it's a good thing to put in a bit of effort, because that's where you actually can, you know, make up a few meters. You make up more meters by putting in more effort on a, you know, 10, 12% than you do on a 6, 7%. So his reward for getting around that hairpin is it's gone back down to 8, 6, 7, 8, back up to 9. As I say, it's mostly a sort of pretty steady 9, 10, 11% slope. So Wouter there putting in some effort there, showing us his pain face, and making a very good effort there for Moon Riders. So we're going to keep going back through the field now. Rispens there, Haas from Germany. Little groups forming, so not really groups. I mean, it's pretty sort of strung out. They're more or less riding individually, and you don't get that much draft effect here. Paul Nichols is the working with Jim Ogilvy to design and put on these courses. So this is Paul suffering at his own hand. He devised this course, or created the Magic Road. There we go. Picture of Paul there. Paul lives in Sussex, down on the south coast. He must be listening. Hey, Paul, thanks for the wave. Big shout out to Paul and James at OTR for putting on this series, a fantastic series, among others that they do. King of the Castle, which has been running on Sundays, and in a couple of weeks' time we're replaced by one that I'm working with Paul and James on, based around some Dubai courses. I used to live out there, a mix of Dubai and a mix of track, which is very much my passion. Look out for that. OTR do some fantastic events. They also do a veterans race series on Tuesday nights, which I'm looking forward to doing at some point. Paul there in 35th place, checking out his handiwork as he comes up this slope. And I have to say, it is a fantastic, I mean, it takes a lot of effort. You really, if you've never tried it, it's amazing how much effort it takes to do these magic roads. I mean, it's a great thing on RGT, but you have to pay attention to a lot of detail to make sure that it's all nice and smooth, that there's no big variations in the gradients, that the course doesn't go off. And I mean, Paul's magic roads are absolutely impeccable. You know, it's fantastic to ride these roads and know that they've been so well put together. The message there from John Beams, our current stage leader. Nice to watch from the comfort of my sofa. Yeah, absolutely, John, although I'm sure you weren't comfortable at 6 o'clock this morning when you were putting in your own effort, and certainly not last night. So it'll be interesting to see how some of these times compare. As I said, John did a time of 48:39 earlier today, so that's the time to beat for the stage. So Daniel now has come back to Casper. Great effort. Like I said, you just have to keep a regular, and I wondered if Casper, he was constantly in the red. He was doing high 5 watts per kilo. You just can't, I mean, 6 watts per kilo is elite world tour level. So high 5 watts per kilo for a even a serious amateur rider is pretty hard going. And I'm not surprised there that Casper's maybe had to ease off the power a little bit and has been caught by Daniel. Daniel there just sitting, he's not going to put in effort. I mean, sometimes when you catch somebody, it can be, if you've got the energy, it can be a really good tactic to just try and go straight past them. Not let them get the draft, not let them think about it, and just go straight past. But Daniel is not going to try that. He's just in orange there, which means he's slightly over his FTP, but not heavily. Orange back to yellow, which is around FTP, around threshold. And now he's putting in a bit of an effort, and he's going to try and get a little bit of a gap on Casper. That's an interesting move there. So Daniel, they've got 4.8 kilometers to go, so still quite a lot of climbing, but Daniel's putting in an effort there. He's already got a gap of 4 or 5 meters, and on a slope like this, because you're not getting, on the flat, that wouldn't matter. You could easily just tuck in the draft, put in an effort, and you'll be back. But on a slope like this at 9, 10+%, 4 or 5 meters is no draft, and you're absolutely, have to put in an effort to get back on that wheel. So that's interesting to see Daniel putting in that effort there, and it'll be interesting to keep following that. So Keith getting out of the saddle there. Keith's moved up to 7th, so he's in a top 10 position there. What's he doing? 280. I mean, that, for Keith, given that he's 64 kilos, that's still over 4 watts per kilo. That little group getting away from him a little bit there. Come on, Keith, stand on the pedals if you're listening to us. Don't let them get away. It's got the headband on to catch the sweat there. Always very good idea if you're indoors. You don't want sweat getting in all your mechanicals. Keith's heart rate up at 165. 160 is getting out of the saddle there, making sure that he keeps going. He's still got quite a way to go, so he needs to make sure that he's on yellow there, which means he's around threshold power. So I don't know what Keith's FTP is, but it's probably around the sort of 260, 270, maybe 280 mark, which is indicated by that yellow bar underneath his name there. So Daniel now has definitely opened up a lead over Casper. That was a fantastic move. He's got a 45-meter gap now over Casper, and Casper was just unable to respond. Daniel came up to him slowly, worked his way up, kept a steady pace, got onto his wheel, had a little bit of a breather, and then boom, went away and has suddenly got a 45-meter gap. Casper now, as you can see, has gone back down to 3 watts per kilo. Like I was saying, once a rider gets ahead, sometimes the rider behind just puts their head down for a little bit and thinks, okay, that's gone. I can't get that guy. I'm going to just concentrate on my race, make sure I keep my energy, stay ahead of the people behind me, and don't blow up. And I think that might be what Casper is looking at doing now, but still only 45 meters. But it's hard to describe unless you've been in racing and you see it either on a slope, and you really see it if you're ever riding in crosswinds when echelons form. It's like, I always describe it as like ice cracking. You see the crack ahead of you and you see it getting wider, but there's just nothing you can do about it. And it cracks and the ice moves and suddenly you're adrift and there's suddenly a huge crevice between you and where you want to be. It's a slow and painful experience, and losing a wheel is like that. So Timo Achenbach in 12th spot. He's also been moving up nicely, keeping a good steady pace, staying in that yellow to orange zone, which is what they need to do. Definitely suffering. You can see him taking in plenty of air there as he rides. He's doing about 250 watts. So again, I would think that his FDP is probably similar to Keith's, probably sort of in the high 200s, 270, 280 maybe. That's a power that you can keep going. But this whole ride is going to take them about 45, 50 minutes. The first 6 kilometers were fairly easy, so you're talking about 30, 35 minutes of ridings up the climb, similar to last night. So you should be able to maintain above threshold. That threshold power is the power you can maintain for an hour. So you should be able to keep doing a bit more, like 110, even up to 120% up this slope. I mean, I was doing about 110 most of the way up today. I'm somewhat limited by a heart condition, which means I can't let my heart rate spike up. Message there from Henry Farrell. Thanks, Henry. Love this. Keep up the great work, guys. I see he's talking about the races, but also Damon, who does fantastic work bringing you all this racing on ZMS. And I'm one of a number of commentators who will be working on this. I know Derek Bucock, who is riding tonight and streamed one of the earlier stages, is doing tomorrow night. And we've got a few other riders. Thursday night is a big night. That's the Queen stage. A few other riders will be doing it. Unfortunately, I can't do next week because I'll be traveling for work. So I was going to do some more next week, but I'm not able to do that now. I'll have to catch up on the results. So Daniel there consolidating his lead. He's now got it up to 100 meters, and on 9-10% slopes, a 100-meter gap is quite substantial. in the earlier race today. So I had about a 450, 500 meter gap to about 400 meters to the rider behind me, and that ended up being 3 or 4 minutes, I think, at the finish. So, you know, 100 meters is easily a minute. So that's pretty good with 3.4 kilometers to go. That's, I would say, a pretty unbeatable lead going up there. Message there from Daniel. Shock. Come on, guys. Wow, how do you do those emojis? Yeah, I guess they're just emojis, but they come out on screen differently. So yeah, didn't know you could do that. Shows up slightly different. Mike, if Damon shows this message, I'll donate a quid to the prize pot. Well, hello, Mike. How are you? Why aren't you riding these races? Come on. You'd be doing really well up here. So there you go, a quid for extra. So the prize pot will be £251, and that is, I believe, a prize that is being put up by ZMS. Let me have a look at the handbook. I know it's £250. I'm not sure what it is for. Is it for the overall, or is it a spot prize? Yeah, I'm not seeing that. I'll check the handbook, but I'm not sure. I know anyway that there is a £250 prize that is being put up by ZMS, and yeah, so well done to Damon for not only taking a lot of his time to do this, but also putting in some sponsor money and rewarding some of the riders. Peter Austin there, Paul Nichols. The Magic Roads look fantastic. Almost tempted to ride. Great job. What's stopping you, Peter? Come on. I enjoyed the race earlier. I mean, that is partly because I'm a trackie trapped in the body of a time trialist, is what I used to say to my coach. So my physiology is a time trialist. My love is track, but and I really enjoyed this. I thought this was a fantastic route to ride. It was just so, as I say, so steady. You could really get into a good rhythm. Paul does such a fantastic job on these roads. I've used a lot of his tracks with my TNT track racing, some of his shorter rides, and it's great. I've been working with Paul and James on a new series based around Dubai, and I've given Paul a few of my old routes from Dubai, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he has done with them. I'm sure they will bring back a lot of memories, because they'll be so lifelike. So there we got Kasper Hededam now in second place, and Andrzej Krzyzewski in third. Not quite sure of the gap between them. I mean, Andrzej had quite a distance back to Daniel. There we go. We're seeing, so we've got Daniel there extending his lead. So Daniel looks nailed on for this. So 180 meters back to Kasper. And then it's roughly another 150 to Andrzej. So Andrzej could make that up. I mean, he's still got 2.5, 3 kilometers to go. That's not impossible. Although, you'd have to say, if you haven't done it now, it's unlikely that somebody's going to pull that out of the bag in the last couple of kilometers. And certainly looking at their watts per kilo, Kasper is still steadily going along at less than he was before, but still in the 5s. And Andrzej is sort of in the high 4s mostly. Must be on a slightly flatter bit there as he's gone down. Got a little bit of a breather, which is very sensible. Get a bit of breath, get your heart rate down when you're on some of those little lesser gradients. There's no flat bits, but lesser gradients, because you're not going to lose as much time there as you would if you're not putting in the same effort on the slopes. Andrzej there, you can see Kasper and Andrzej going back into the red. Kasper 350, so he's doing consistently in the orange there at 335, so red 340, 350. So I would guess that Kasper's FTP is probably around 300, 310, and he's probably around 300, and he's taking it steady now, which is a sensible thing. You do have to put in the effort, because this is about timing over the stages. So it's not just about winning on the night or where you place on the night. It's about your cumulative time, like any stage race. So it is important that he keeps going. Andre there, 350. He's 350 in the yellow, so that means his FTP probably a little bit less than that, probably sort of 310, 320 maybe. But I don't know his weight, so there might be a bit of a difference between him and Casper. But showing the flag there for Ratio Racing. Ratio obviously has some fantastic riders. Nick Greenhalgh is one of their premier riders. He hasn't been doing this one, but he does a lot of the races on RGT. And they have Alex Pledger, and I think Jan Decker is also Ratio. So yeah, very, very strong stable of riders for Ratio. So here we go, John Stevens from Southern UK. We saw him riding last night, and I think last night he was maybe tonight, which is a really good effort from him. Age 50, 1.76 meters, 67 kilos. So good climbing frame. This is what I mean about, maybe last night wasn't suited. Someone 67 kilos, obviously not a heavy rider, but it really suits somebody. He's staying steadily there in the yellow and the orange bar means that he's one of these riders who's good at keeping a nice steady power, and I think this course tonight really suits that type of rider. And a lot of people who've been racing in the UK will have done a lot of TTs. It's a very big thing here. So TTs is something that people tend to do if they're coming up in clubs and racing in the UK. Jonty Williamson there with the English flag, also sitting on sort of mid 350s, not far behind. So there's a couple together here. So Lee Marshall and I'm going to take a guess at Wout Stoppels. Riding together there right under the Dutch flag with another rider there, Lopez, 8. So we've got a little group of 3 here. Interesting, 6, 7, 8 all together, tagging each other. They're not getting much benefit. They're not getting draft from each other, but they're obviously just psychologically, mentally using each other to pace themselves up the climb. And it's a good thing on these. You can sometimes, it helps you to just say, I'm not going to let that rider get past me. I'm not going to let that wheel get away. Well, out there letting a bit of a gap go. So that was becoming group 3. Here's Wout de Kles again, Moon Raiders. And Wout, how are you looking now? Oh, he's got the head down, but he hasn't got too far to go now. I know Daniel up ahead has 1.4 kilometers to go. So I'm guessing these guys are probably about 1.7, 1.8 to go. So Wout there, still doing above 350, 360 watts per kilo, going nicely up these corners. So he's in for a good time there. Not sure if I couldn't see anybody ahead of him to catch, but I think he's safe in his spot. Jojo Rusinek there, doing an excellent ride. He'll be moving up in the overall standings, I think, on tonight. So often it is the older riders, I can say that because I'm one of them myself, who are good at keeping a nice steady pace, partly because they know what they can do, they've got the experience, but also it just tends to suit you. Lose that explosive power as you get older. It's just a fact of physiology. Older riders are often, lose that strong explosive power, but they are very good at keeping going as diesels. And certainly in the UK TT scene, I remember the very first TT I went to, there was a group of guys in the car park discussing going to each other's 80th birthday parties. It's amazing how some of these guys keep going in TTs. And it's very much about challenge yourself. So here we go, big moment there. Daniel Cadiz going under the red kite, under the Flamme Rouge. He's got less than a kilometre to go now. He's still very consistently putting out over 5 watts per kilo. So that's a fantastic effort from him. He was second, let me remind you, in last night's stage that we broadcast, behind Ivan Garush, who's not riding tonight. So Daniel there has been able to take, as it looks like, take the victory, go out on his own. He had to wind back Casper Hetterdam, who took an early lead on the bottom slopes, but Daniel kept a nice steady pace, didn't panic, he stayed calm, kept a steady power, and managed to catch up with Casper and then get a little jump and take a lead, which he has extended ever since without any sign of problems. So he's now in the last few hundred. Just if you remember that profile, it was red pretty much all the way up, and then there's a little green bit at the end. So that last red section started at about there. You can see Daniel's pin in the middle of that. So that last red section, like the rest, it's about 10-11%, but it starts at about 1.1 kilometers to go, and it goes up until probably about 300 meters to go. So Daniel now has only another 300 meters of climbing. It'll be interesting if some of those groups that are together get up here, because this will be the point where if you are with somebody, you really need to try and drop them. If you can get to the end of that red bit, get into those last 300 flat meters, Casper now in the final kilometer. If you can get to that last 300 meters with even a 5 to 10 meter gap, suddenly a 5 to 10 meter gap when you're on a 10-11% slope, as soon as you get to that green, it'll suddenly go out to a 20-30 meter gap, and that puts the person behind you out of your draft. So if you are with somebody coming up to this last steep section, that's the time when you really need to fight it out. There we go, one of the RGT goats in the background there, and that's the time to fight it out and really try to get a little gap as you come in and sprint for the line. I have to say, and I'm not sure if you're going to hear this, so I've done a little bit, not in this area, but I have done a little bit of riding in the Swiss-French Alps. And one of the souvenirs I brought back was a cowbell. And when you go up these things, obviously you don't get it here, but there genuinely are cows in the field who have bells on them, and you hear it. It's one of the sounds, one of the things that you remember about the climbs, that you hear the bells of the cows as you go up. And so I bought a little cowbell, and often on the climbs in the Tour de France, whatever, people at the roadside ring their cowbells. So I'm going to ring my cowbell for Daniel to encourage him as he comes into this final 200 meters. Unfortunately, my dog is also here with me, and she's probably going to go crazy when she hears the cowbell. So we'll have a brief cowbell. I'm not sure if you can hear it. Here we go. Cowbell as Daniel goes across the line. Well done, Daniel. Bit of cowbell, and the dog stayed calm. Actually, I think I worried the dog. Sorry about that, sweetheart. It's all right. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's just cowbell. No cows. So Daniel there, fantastic win. Daniel crossed the line there. He's still got, that's 600 meters. Doesn't sound like much, but that's going to be a couple of minutes before Casper gets up. He's still got another, he's still got, so is it that far? Maybe I'm getting that slightly wrong. No, it's not that far. He had 75 meters, so I'm not sure what the sign was there. So Casper there will be crossing the line very shortly. Andrzej is now, here's Casper. He's coming onto the flat bit now. Go Moonriders, Tomasz Poniatowski, I'm guessing Tomasz. Also I'm guessing a Polish name. Sorry if I've got that wrong, Tomasz, but welcome. Thanks for watching. No doubt you'll be cheering on Moonriders, but probably with half an eye on Mr. Krajewski. So Daniel Kidd is there. Victory for Spain. Muy bien, Daniel. Muy fuerte. Muy fuerte. He has crossed at 45.55, and that is considerably ahead of John Beam's time set earlier today. Remember, he did 48.39, so nearly 3 minutes. So what's that? 2 minutes and 44 seconds, I believe, faster than John. So that will put Daniel into the lead on today's stage as Casper there crosses the line. Didn't catch his time, so we're at 47. Was that about 47.30 for Casper? So he'll also be ahead of John on that stage. And Andrzej is at 47.50. So all these riders ahead of the mark set earlier by John. And it's an interesting thing, really, in terms of the competition. It's really hard. I'm sure John had this. I mean, I would say I had it because I won my stage earlier, quite unexpectedly, I have to say. And I'm not saying I could have gone faster, but there is a partly because of my heart rate. I'm basically riding to heart rate, so going faster isn't an option. But you do when you're in the front and you're on your own. It's really hard to just maintain a fast pace. And we saw yesterday Casper set the he did the earlier stage yesterday, set the fastest time of 36:43, but then that was smashed by Ivan and Daniel and even John Beams 36:23 last night. So all of them finished ahead of Casper, but today Casper, having a wheel to follow and somebody to ride against, has put in possibly a relatively faster time through the competition. So as we there see John Stevens crossing the line there in 4th place, he was 49. So now we're behind John. So John Beams earlier did 48:39. John Stevens there will be behind John from that earlier time. And I can tell you, my time was 51:57, and I, was second. So they've still got 2 minutes before they. So all these riders are going to be ahead of me in today's stage standings, not surprisingly. Although I'll see, maybe I'll do well. I mean, I'm a Cat D master, so I might have done well in the Cat Ds. We'll see. Jonty Williamson there, crossing the line in 5th on 49:43, and here's Lee Marshall in 6th behind him. Remember, we saw them quite close, Lee Marshall and Lopez quite close together earlier. Lee's obviously made a bit of an effort, dropped them, but I see not farther down. We'll see them when Lee crosses the line. We'll go back to Lopez and Stoppels, who are very close together. So Lopez, this is close. Oh, about to close. Oh my goodness, what an effort there. Coming past him on the line. Wow. I did not see Wouter. I saw Lopez, I saw Stoppels, and I didn't see Klaus coming up behind. So that was a fantastic effort, the last there from Wouter to cross in 7th, just pipping Lopez and Stoppels as they cross the line. So that's good racing. That's just a race head. Some people have just a race head where they just have to put in that effort and make sure they cross, not let somebody cross ahead of them. So well done Wouter for Moonriders. I wish we could have seen his face as he made that final effort. So Raul Lopez there in 8th, really close, 50:11.2, 50:11.5, and 50:13 for Wilger Stoppels. That's our top 9, and then Jojo, it looks like he's going to be our 10th rider crossing the line here at 51:13, so still ahead of me. So I was wondering where I'd be in the Masters category. As I said, I'm D, same as Jojo, and Jojo crossing, I did 51:57. Jojo crossing the line here. He's got 100 meters, but I think he's going to make it. So 51:30, 51:32. So that's still 24 seconds ahead of me. Keith now, he's still got a little bit, he's still got this last little bit of slope to come, just a final little bit of pain before they cross the line. So he's got he does have a little Timo Achenbach, who's only 15 meters behind him. Now, if Timo can put in a big effort here, he could just catch Keith. 250 to go. They're just going to get into the flat now, so Keith needs to put in an effort here. He's got Timo on his wheel. Come on, Keith, put in an effort here that sees them orange, that sees them red. 150 meters. See how that suddenly went out from 15 meters to 40 meters because he had that small gap just as they crossed into the green, but never hurts to make sure. Well done, Keith, crossing the line there, securing 11th place ahead of Timo Achenbach with Moonriders. Well done, Keith. Well done, Timo. Great effort. So now we've got Pascual, Spanish rider, in the 13th place, no one around him, so he will cross the line easily. And Johan Suhard in 14th. I'm just sort of scanning down to see if there's any close contest, but it looks to, as you would sort of expect on a slope like this where there's no draft. The gaps form and get strung out. So not many riders going together, but we were treated to that lovely little display for the for 7th, 8th, and 9th place. So here we go with Chedas. So Johan Suhard has crossed the line. Chedas now, 100 meters to go. We'll probably stick with the top 20, and then we'll let the other riders come over. So Chedas here Portugal in 15th place. Nick Giles, Poco, 250 meters to go, so he'll be finishing in about 30 seconds. Looking back, we've got Dulac, Isitor, Mike Murray. Well done, Mike, has moved up a few places there. Chris Spankras, that looks to be our top 20, but we'll wait for them to cross the line, and then we'll round off tonight. I'm not sure. I know Damon has the top 20. I'm not sure. We won't have stage. We won't have the second stage. Maybe we'll. Not sure. Not sure if we have the stage results yet. Probably that has to wait because knowing how RGTDB works, then message from Antoine Ranu. Well done, Keith. Thanks, Antoine, and thanks for watching. Great to see you here. Antoine organizes, does a lot of racing and organizes quite a lot of racing, including the Classic Jeudi on Thursday nights. So join some of Antoine's races. I know he's brought a lot of French riders onto RGT and does a lot for the does a lot to bring riders in, and is also a very nice guy to chat to on Discord and Facebook. So hi, Antoine. So we won't have series updates because of course the stage hasn't finished, but check out rgtdb.com. And no doubt James, as soon as the stage has ended, will import the results, put them all together with the other stages from earlier today, and do a cumulative time, which will be spat out magically from RGTDB and appear underneath the series standings, so the series link. So if you go to the series, upcoming series or current series on RGTDB, check out Tour de Alps, or click the link to Tour de Alps and scroll down to the bottom of the page and you'll see all the standings. And then also on the OTR Facebook page, they'll be publishing categories. So categories like in age groups, under 40s, the bands, the masters bands over 40, and also the women riders. Last night we had Séverine Le Poec, Swiss lady, who finished in 26th place overall on the stage with a time of 43:21. We had some other women riding. Barbara Herrera was riding. Kate Ouellette, who is a very, very well-known RGT rider, and in real life does ultra rides, and I think ultra runs as well. Amazingly fit lady. Just amazing actually, the amount of training and things that she does. So I believe she's also been doing these rides as well. So there's different categories and they will all be rewarded. And as I said, there's a spot prize. This one from Hexy Socks that is done on a just a spin the wheel type of thing. I think Paul has some sort of bit of software that does put all the names into a hat sort of thing or onto the wheel and spin, and somebody wins the prize. Personally, I don't know if I'm barred from winning, but I looked at the Hexy socks and they are absolutely fantastic. They're not just cycling socks. There's all sorts of other things, amazing and patterns, and you can do custom socks and everything. They looked really good. So that would be a great prize for whoever wins the spot prize from Hexy Socks. And if you're interested in it, if you look on the rider handbook that James Ogilvy has done, you can see links to Hexy, you can see links to Tom Clothing, who did the spot prize for last night, and I believe tomorrow the spot prize will be from Paleo Valley, who do a fantastic range of nutritional products, all based around, it's all organic and it's all based around a paleo diet, which I won't explain now, but I'm sure if you've been around cycling, you will have heard about paleo diets, the sort of natural diet, supposed to be like, what our historic diet would have been, non-processed, organic stuff, not processed food. Great thing. So we've had our top 20 there, as we're seeing on screen. Who was 20th? Chris Spankras was 20th across the line. So we're now with Dionisio, the Portuguese rider, in 21. And I think we'll start to leave it there as they keep dribbling across the line. So as I said, ZMS broadcasting this every stage of these 10 stages across 2 weeks, Monday to Friday. as well as many of the other races that ZMS does, like the West London VR that I mentioned earlier. Quite a few other riders. They'll be doing a big production. Forgive me for not remembering the dates, but Echelon Racing. Here we go. Soren Anschutz. Echelon Racing, which is probably the biggest series, I think, on RGT. Happens later this month, I believe. It's basically a pro. There's pro riders. It's a huge series, US based. Lots of pro and semi-pro teams riding in the Echelon series. There we go. Echelon Racing League starts November 13th, and you can check out details on the race page. But community riders, amateur riders, and they are having a thing this year with what they call a combine, which confused me when I first saw it. But it's an American thing where sort of based, I think, around the NFL, where people, if I understand it correctly, go and so basically it's a chance for like amateurs to go and try out and show up whether they're any good, and scouts go to these things and check, and if they think like the look of somebody, they might give them a trial or a contract or something like that. So there's going to be a sort of a structured combine where people do a couple of races and their data will be looked at, their watts per kilo, their recoveries, their peaks and so on, to see whether they might be able to join one of the virtual, possibly even real life pro or semi-pro teams. So that's a great opportunity for people. And ZMS and Echelon, ZMS is very much across the Echelon Racing, and we'll be bringing that to you on RGT. So we're now getting down to 23. Doyle there. That was Dermot Doyle, yeah, with the F that was confusing me, but presumably there is something that that stands for. So crossing line in 23rd. We're now just past the hour mark, and we'll see how all those times stack up. As I understand it, the stages are done, well, not stages, the cumulative placings are done on time. So it pretty much comes down to doing as many of the events as you can, and getting the best time across all of them. If I remember correctly, it's pretty much, I don't remember there being many flat stages. It is Tour de Alps. There are some slightly, less testing or less painful stages, but the Queen stage on Thursday is that's nearly 2,000 meters climbing on the Queen stage over 44 kilometers. So that's going to be an epic on Thursday. So look out for that. Hey, John's crossing the line now in 24th. Well done, John. Give us a wave. Nice one, John. Well done. Great to see John riding in the RGT races. We know that it's partly why John's so helpful and is really good on social media, because he does it, and so do they all. James Vickers, I know, also does a lot of the rides as well. So you really feel that they understand what we're going through, and they understand any problems, and they also understand why we love RGT. So yeah, 5 stages this week. So even the easier stage is still 950 meters climbing on Friday. So I'm just looking through the handbook. There are no stages that don't have. Maybe okay. There's one next week that has only 400 meters, and actually has some downhill. So wow, look out for that one. But it is pretty much going to be a climbing fest over the 2 weeks. So it's going to be quite testing. So where are we now? We're down to 26th spot. Shields there, crossing the line. We've got Stepan Lee, who we saw earlier on tonight. So they're coming up. He's just coming to the end of this red section. So it's pretty spread out. They're just coming up in dribs and, well, not dribs and drabs, they're coming up in ones, really. Some riders may have kept someone else in their sights, but it looks like mostly they've kept, they've spread out, they're singled out. The watts per kilo and the lack of draft have meant that everybody's spread out over time. So I'm going to wrap up there. I think the stream might continue for a little while just to capture everybody. Tomorrow's stage, as I mentioned, I'm not going to be doing it tonight. Derek is going to be commentating for you tomorrow. It is Vetros to drone. Yeah, quite a few little switchbacks there as we go up yet another mountain. If you hold on, I will just get the exact details. So Vetros to drone, it starts to the west of the town of Swan. It's an agricultural region overlooked by the Vis de Torrent Neuf mountain walk with a magnificent foot suspension bridge. Something to look up on Google Maps. Climbing tomorrow, 1,247 meters. So it is a big one, and I can see in the middle what looks like a vertical wall. So I mean, it's average of 7%, but that's over the whole thing. So there aren't many flat bits. It looks pretty constant, but then there's a downhill in the middle. So it's basically a climb, a downhill, and another climb. So I guess the downhill is through that little valley that you see in the middle of the picture there. And it looks like when they hit the second part of the climb that there is a very, very steep start to that second climb. So that will be something to look out for. It will take the distance of the stage is 22 kilometers. And it will take the cumulative climbing over the 3 stages to just over 3,000 meters, 3,089 meters. And tomorrow's spot prize will be from Paleo Valley. So Derek will be with you tomorrow as we go back to the riding here. There we go, Chris Shackleton and Matthew Drujon. And I will leave you there. Thanks very much for listening to me. I hope it's been informative or entertaining or educational, possibly all three. Hopefully at least one of them. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching on ZMS, and keep watching the stages. Keep watching other ZMS. Thanks for joining us, and good night.